Israeli forces are gearing up for a ground war with Hamas in Gaza, a fight officials in the country say is imminent. So what could this look like based on Israel's latest advances? Joining us now is Medal of Honor recipient for his actions in the Battle of Fallujah, Staff Sgt. David Bellavia. David, thanks so much for being here. You have fought through probably the closest, at least in a modern era, type of operation as Israel might be undertaking right now. We've got a map of the whole country here. Let me fast forward, if I may, away from the region to the Gaza Strip in particular. Israel's evacuated a lot of communities around the Gaza Strip, just as they've evacuated communities in the north around the Golan Heights in preparation for what Hezbollah might do. But what do these evacuations tell you, and what type of preparation do you see coming from the Israelis, and what does it tell you about the offensive coming?
So, I mean, how do you move tens of thousands of men into a battle like this Gaza fight is going to be? I mean, the modern armies are going to put you into a hopper. You go to pre-assault areas, pre-battle areas. In the Battle of Fallujah, we waited around for 15 hours inside of armored vehicles. By the end of that, just let us out. I mean, that is a tremendous amount of time to wait. You're actually watching right now the beginning of what appears to be like a demilitarized zone around Gaza Strip. A lot of people thought, you know, are the Israelis have any intention to occupy Gaza? Most experts will tell you that there's no point in that. So if you eliminate all of Hamas, what does the future of the Gaza Strip look like? Well, you think of South Korea, North Korea. If you don't trust that area around the Strip, the best way to eliminate incursions in the future, the best way to show a resurgence of Hamas is to simply keep the civilian population at a distance from that area.
David, remind our viewers about Fallujah. How many enemy fighters were there? How many Americans were there? How long did it take?
So we had about 12,000 American forces, 10,000 that went into the city of Fallujah. Fallujah is a city the size of Tampa Bay, Florida, but it had about 6 months to eliminate the civilian population. And even though they had 6 months to kick out men, women, and children, you still had the elderly, you still had the infirmed. And realize that the enemy is going to keep those civilians there because that allows the reluctant martyr to save face and quit the fight. There's a third of those Hamas boys that are just going to die. That's their belief. They're dead men walking. You got another third that are probably high to Neptune, and they've got a lot of influence in their life that'll keep them in the fight. But a third of those fighters just need a reason. They just need enough influence to realize that this is a lost cause and they're done. And those civilians will give them the ability to save face, to say, hey, look, I want to fight, but this old woman, she's got to get out of here. You know, I'll go with her. I'll walk out and wave the white flag as well.
So you think you'll see some of that in Gaza? How many Islamists in Fallujah, roughly, were you facing that were dug in?
The estimate was between 6,000 and 8,000. And so this was guys from all over the world that used Fallujah as their little headquarters out there. If you look at the forces that Israel is massing right now, it's almost 10 times the size of what we had going into Fallujah.
10 times the size, but you now have the tunnels and you have the high rises and you have the reality that just not as much of the civilian population will leave. How long, based on your understanding, with the troops massed that Israel's bringing to that border, how long would an operation to clear it? Let's not talk about the next phases. That's a whole other conversation. But actually go through and clear and kill the Hamas fighters that are there.
So, I mean, the goal for IDF right now is to keep this fight outside of these buildings for as long as possible. You're seeing a lot of armor that the Israelis are using. 40 years ago, the wonks in the Army War College would have said a tank has no purpose on a battlefield. Iraq taught us that not only do tanks belong in an urban fight, they're a combat multiplier in an urban fight. Hamas is going to try to isolate Israel and put obstacles throughout the streets. Hamas only wants Israel to drive down the roads that will blow up. Those tanks will clear those obstacles. The name of the game in Gaza is to keep people outside fighting, but what they want to do is fix the enemy. No vehicles will be allowed to drive in Gaza. We're not going to allow VBIDs, vehicle-borne IEDs, car bombs, and we're certainly not going to let the enemy Uber from position to position. You want to keep them right where they're at, fix them where they're at, and drop them and take them out. And this is all about domination. The more aggressive you go in and the more you show that you're not going anywhere, the better it is for survivability for IDF.
And so by the time they go in, David, based on the time that the sort of delay that's gone into the front end, you think anything that's moving, people or vehicles, is a target?
They've already been told that, and they will continue to be told that. There will be a curfew. Anyone out at night is going to get dropped. And if you drive any vehicle that doesn't have an Israeli flag on it, that thing is going to be smoldering.
I believe it. David Bellavia, you know what you're talking about. Appreciate your time this morning.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.